you go. Right, I haven't actually thought of a good name for this yet. I was thinking of Edumication, or what here I've got here is Teacher Files, but it seems pretty boring. I wanted to put, I don't know, but we'll come up with a name for
Put
it.
a passion to it.
Yeah. Also got Going Deeper. Anyway.
Yeah, I quite liked that when I saw that come up on the email.
Yeah, Going Deeper might be something along those lines. Just to start off, just for anybody that might watch this, maybe a couple people in my family.
Me, my family. Yeah.
Exactly. Our networks. What is your name?
Sharleen.
Sharleen. And where do you teach? I say teach because in a broader sense.
So I used to be the generic teacher.
Yeah.
So I originally trained as a teacher for young people with disabilities because schools used to be segregated. They used to have units within schools or specialised schools for young people with disabilities to be able to attend.
Yep.
And then the government changed the scheme and everyone was integrated. So then I went back and trained as a primary teacher.
Yep.
And did that for a while, but now, and then I sort of changed.
That was before mainstreaming, then mainstreaming.
Yep, then I did mainstreaming. Yep, and then I moved into, I guess, the generic teacher framing didn't work for me, and so I moved into youth work and working with young people who were classed as at risk or vulnerable.
Yep.
Yeah, and so currently I'm in Central Otago, Alexandra at Youth Base.
Awesome. And Youth Base, can you give me a little bit of a rundown of Youth Base? Yep,
so Youth Base is a community organisation and we run programs for young people in our community, for anyone, they don't have to be vulnerable or at risk or anything, it's just for anyone in our community.
Yep.
So we run different programs like girls groups and boys groups and youth forums, so that's a senior youth forum and a junior youth forum. They're around getting together and learning the skills of running a meeting and coming up with a concept and following it through.
Yep.
Maybe lobbying for something in your community or backing something else that's already happening with a youth voice.
So very community based.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. We do things like combined dinners where we bring young people in to cook and eat together. What else? We do movie nights and discos and all the fun stuff.
Awesome.
And we also do one-on-one support, so for families or young people who may need it.
Cool.
We collaborate a lot with different groups in the community, like Sticks and Stones, the anti-bullying program. And we try and do what we call our Nibble and Natter series, which is supporting parents with parenting, basically, and having key or hot topics that they can support each other with.
So it's like a group, parent
group?
group?
Well, it's just we'll bring in experts around certain topics that may be the hot topic of the time, and invite parents to come and hear from this person, share thoughts and ideas, just support each other, basically.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Cool, that's great.
It is, it's cool, it's very busy.
When and where did you do your teaching degree?
At Otago, of course, because that's one of the best places to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm not telling you when because it was a long time ago.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay. In one sentence, could you try and give me a description of what you think education is?
Education is never ending. If you take education in the broader terms being learning, then it's never ending. We're always learning through life. We always have the opportunities, I guess, to learn through life. So to me,
cool. So like a never
always
ending
ongoing
process.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
I mean, education in its basic form is the systematic way of learning. That is what education means.
Yep.
So if we kind of take it back from the root of it, it is that ongoing learning in a systematic way. But systematic has to be whatever your learning style is. So if you're a hands-on learner, then you learn systematically in that way. If you're a visual learner, or you like to write, then it's doing it that way. But I guess for me, the one sentence is around the fact that it doesn't end.
Cool.
You have the opportunity to learn. I can leave here today and meet someone and learn from them. Learn something that I didn't know before, or something that inspires me or encourages me. And it's just ongoing.
And that's education. And so, but you're touching on learning styles as well, weren't you? So, dependent on the person depends on how they learn.
Absolutely.
So it's got to be incorporated, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's really important.
Okay.
And I guess that's why sometimes our education system doesn't work for everybody, because there's quite strong in the classroom. There's quite strong ways and things that have to be done and have to be achieved as far as national standards and things go.
Yep.
And it's quite hard, if you think, for a teacher who's got 30 odd kids in their classroom to be able to create a room or a learning environment that would suit every single need of a child all the time.
Totally, I agree. Okay. In your opinion, you might have touched on this, what is the key to children's learning?
I think the key is for them to understand the way that they learn.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think it would, in an ideal world, it would be great if the teacher knew how each child in her classroom learned.
Perfect.
But how would she have the time to discover that? Yeah. So if we did that before they even came to school, if there was some sort of way of, right from the start, parents acknowledging or watching or learning how to see how their child best learns, creating something around that so that when they got to school, they could share that knowledge with the teacher.
Awesome. Or have it as part of every year, or part of the start when they enter school. Like, you've got the first month or so to find out what kind of learning.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think the other thing for me is, how can we have one teacher and all those students? We're pumping out teachers from Teachers College. Yep. Apparently there was a shortage a while ago, so everyone went to Teachers College. Yep. Why aren't we having 2 or 3 teachers? Yep. Why do we just have one teacher in a classroom?
My brother-in-law is a big advocate for that, kind of open classroom and shared teaching.
Yeah. But not more kids in an open classroom. Do you know what I mean? Like, sometimes open classrooms means 60 kids and only 2 teachers, because that would be your standard 1:30 ratio. Yep. And you chuck in a teacher 8. Yep. Well, why? Yeah. Why aren't we having, if you're going to have 30 kids in a classroom, why haven't we got 3 or 4 teachers?
Yeah, but the
I know it comes
logistics
down
of
to
that,
budget.
Yeah, doesn't it? Yeah.
But can you imagine if you had teachers with different learning styles themselves, all working together? So when they create a lesson plan, they go, well, actually, you need to add this element for the visual learner, and you need to add this one for the... Do you know what I mean? Can you imagine when they work as a team, then they pass that on to our young people, how powerful that would be?
That'd be amazing.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is logistics and resources.
I know, it comes down to money.
I definitely...
In an ideal world, though. Yeah. If I had,
Imagine it.
If I had the magic wand and I could say...
I'm the same. Like, we... in Argentina, we generally work with about 30 kids in total, but we divide them up to little groups. But little groups rule.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
And and because there's so many learning things within that, because can you imagine that the students then would look at the teachers and they'd go, oh, they're a group of people. There isn't one person who's in authority ruling over everyone. There's a team.
Yep. It
creates that team environment straight from the start.
And a bit of kind of respect.
Yeah.
Broader respect, mutual respect, as opposed to just, this is the one.
And if you think about personalities, the reality is we don't get on with everyone. I mean, that's just things. Sometimes our personalities are so different, we clash or whatever. So for the young person who doesn't necessarily click with their teacher, a whole year is a long time. But if they had 3 or 4 people or adults that they were looking up to being mentored by in a classroom, they're going to click with probably at least one. Do you know what I mean?
Couldn't agree more. And,
that's my ideal world anyway.
Yeah, and that leads to a question that I'll ask you later about a favourite teacher, which I think is really relevant. What are the characteristics that... We're probably touching all of these, but anyway. What are the characteristics of a great teacher?
Someone who's open, I think, and maybe a little bit vulnerable to the young people, as well as vulnerable in the sense of being able to mentor. Do you know what I mean? Not ruling with the iron fist kind of thing, but just that mentoring kind of a teacher, someone who will come alongside a young person. Again, it's an idealistic kind of thing, but because poor teachers, how can you do that when you've got 30 kids all needing you? Do you know what I mean? Like, I totally get. But yeah, creating that mentoring culture within their classroom, I think, creates a great teacher. And somebody who gets maybe somebody who's willing to always learn themselves as well.
Great.
Who doesn't think I just have my degree and I now know all, but can learn from the parents, can learn from the young person, and can incorporate that into what's happening.
Couldn't agree with more.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree with you more. Definitely, I think that the ability to learn or be open to learning. But you touched on vulnerability.
Well, I think that's a little bit of that vulnerability.
Yep.
Not having
Perfect.
that you know all, that you're open still to learning and growing, and that in particular our young people have so much to teach us because they don't necessarily come with all the prejudice that we, by the time we get to our age, have.
We've been burnt by this.
Yeah. They're still open to all the opportunities that why can't they be done? You know, they're just doing them instead of all the health and safety risks that come with
so honest
stuff.
as well in the way they speak.
Yeah, absolutely. So I kind of think that vulnerability to hear that and be open to that through that mentoring culture. Do you know what I mean? And
totally agree. Because I think that we have to learn from children as well.
Yeah.
I think that's that interplay there you're talking about. This is good stuff. Nature or nurture?
Honestly, I think it's a bit of both.
Yep.
And the work that I've done with families at risk and stuff like that, I can say that there's been some families that haven't nurtured.
Yep.
And the young people are created by their environment rather than the loving, nurturing stuff.
Yep.
But once they have been interjected with some nurturing, it can change the dynamic. So I really do think that you can have both, and that you can create change by interjecting them at different times in a young person's life. And in an adult's life as well.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? You can have hardcore adults that have never been nurtured who find that one that clicks with them and can nurture them, and they can grow and change into whatever it is they want to be. So it's a mix.
I agree. Would you say nature, like genes as opposed to environment, how much would it be? How much are you born with, and how much can be changed by environment, or it's variable?
I think it's variable. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. How much of a role does school play in the overall development of a child?
Well, I think if you look at how many hours a day over a lifetime a young person's there, they actually have a huge role to play. And I was thinking about this question, and I was thinking, isn't it interesting how we suddenly put our young people, our children, into situations where they socially have to learn quickly the rules. This is the establishment. Like if you think about kindies or preschools, when you go to Nana's house, you act differently than when you do at Mum's house. Do you know what I mean? So it's another one of those places where our children have to learn certain social skills as well as the educational stuff. Which for some young people who, like if you think for the first 5 years, if you've been climbing trees and riding your bike all day long and have the freedom to just explore your world, suddenly you're put into a room where you have to sit for 80% of your day without fidgeting and be spoken to or at. Holy, that's crazy, isn't it?
I can see coming through you your problems with education at the moment, the problems with the system.
Yeah, I think, and it's nobody's problem. Do you know what I mean? This is a systematic way that universally we say this is how we are going to teach our young people. But I kind of think there's got to be another way. And I guess I've always thought that. Do you know what I mean? And I've seen some awesome ideas, but it's just interjecting them. Like I was watching a clip with one classroom overseas, and they have the wee bike pedal things under the tables at the kids' desks. So their legs are still moving and they're getting stuff, but they can be creative while it's happening.
Wow.
What a cool idea,
That's a great idea. Because I've come up with a theory which I use in Argentina with the kids and it's movement in every single lesson. You need some kind of movement. And I've tried teaching little kids how to read a little bit of music notation or whatever on the board, and they're sitting there and they fidget, but you write it on the floor and get them to jump around actually moving, and they take it on board.
Yeah.
It's a new style of learning.
Of course they do.
I mean, it's not a new style of learning, but it's a style of learning that I think is hugely beneficial.
Well, I mean, what do they say? 20 minutes max that most people will take information in for before they need a break or to move. Well, we don't really create our classrooms around that structure. Yet as adults, we've been told that over and over again. But we're not listening.
Same thing with the fun in Teachers College. They inspire us, and there's amazing, imaginative, creative lessons for kids. And we sit there and you lecture for 2 hours.
Yeah. It's crazy, eh? Yeah.
Anyway, this is great.
Maybe we should start our own school.
Yeah. That's not a silly idea. If the curriculum was limited to 3 subject areas, would they be and why?
For me, they would be social studies.
Yep.
Because I think we have to learn about the world.
Perfect.
Have to. It creates such an awareness or an affinity within us with other cultures and all that. So that's really, really important. The other one would definitely be reading, because I think if you can read, if you can't go anywhere, it can still open up your world. By reading, you can travel, you can explore, you can learn, you can So the reading would definitely be one, and the last one would be probably around which a mixture of those whole arts or physical ed or all those sorts of other ones, so that the learners who aren't necessarily naturally academic but really thrive in that art or physical sphere would be getting their balance as well. So
cool. So kind of a mixture of
maybe technology actually. Technology is
right.
Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
because technology is huge, because if they've got technology, then they can teach themselves to do just about anything now, can't they?
That's true. Yeah, you can look it up on the internet.
Google.
General knowledge is obsolete.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Just look it up. Awesome. And if you could change something about today's education system, what would it be? I'll stop you there because I know we could talk for 3 hours about this. I would help you out. Name one thing, please.
Oh, deep, there's only one thing. If I could change something about the education system, it would be an openness to looking at another way.
Perfect. Well put. Well put. Very well put. What are the core values that children should learn at school?
That I guess that they are amazing. They are amazing human beings, and they can achieve their wildest dreams. That there's always a way.
Perfect. Quite fitting. My sister gave me this yesterday. Positive project. Hey, you are awesome.
Absolutely.
You're awesome.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree. It's that whole thing around confidence, isn't it?
Yeah, and that they have a place within society.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like if you know who you are, then you will find, and you know your skills and your strengths.
Yep.
Even though they're changing and ever growing because you're always learning, you have a place in society. You have a role in the community. You have a role in the wider sense of what's going. You belong. Yep. Basically, at the end of the day.
Throw away all that other academic stuff and go, right, let's work on.
You belong here, right
learning
now.
About yourself and what you're good at, what you're not so good at.
And how can we use your skill set to impact others, to help others grow, to help others learn.
Positive impact on those around you.
Yeah, it's that, the old pay it forward sort of thing, Yeah, I think it's all that sort of stuff, but it's around that sense of belonging in the bigger sense, as well as right here, right now, you are awesome. You're an awesome person with awesome skills. You are here for a purpose. Let's find a way for you to use those things.
Perfect. That's great. Here's an interesting one. I'm interested to hear the views of the teacher's views of empathy in children. In your view, can it be taught or learnt?
Yes, it can be taught and learnt.
Yeah.
I think.
Would you have any ideas on how you could do it?
I think it can be taught and learnt once you have a relationship with someone.
Perfect.
And once you understand what makes that person tick, where they are connected in, what is their... It can't be taught from your own value system, is what I guess I'm saying.
Yep.
You have to understand their value system.
Yep.
And what looks like empathy to you may not look like that to me at all. You know, we come from different places because we're different people.
Brilliant.
But I may feel something and be empathetic to something that you wouldn't even. It wouldn't consider anything. You would just be like, well, why would I need to as well? Do you know what I mean? Like, so I think once we have a relationship with someone and we understand them, we'll be able to see that empathy in them anyway. And if it's not there, maybe it's because that's not resonating with them.
Yep. Good.
Not everyone needs to have
the same
empathy.
That's a very good way to think of it. And also you said relationships.
Mm-hmm.
For me personally, I think the relationships are the key to education. You know, from a teacher's standpoint, the relationship with the child is the most important aspect of the classroom. If you've got a good relationship with the kids, then you don't really have to teach them. You can just go in there and do stuff, and they'll be interested in it.
And that comes back to what I was saying, like that mentoring thing.
Yep.
You know, that teachers are there's a mentoring element to being a teacher.
Yep.
And if you have a relationship, you can be a mentor. And when you're a mentor, you can support change and growth in somebody's life amazingly because they've let you in. They've let you in to create that in them.
Good. Some great stuff here. This is awesome. Yeah. Very, very good. Did you have a favourite teacher at school when you were younger?
I did. I had a teacher who, she was my favourite because she used to randomly grab her guitar and make us sing crazy country songs and all that sort of stuff. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like she was just, she was vibrant and she was alive and we did the boring stuff, but every now and then it would be out with the guitar and going, there was something captivating about the way that she would just interject a bit of fun and life into a classroom. Really.
So, were those the moments that stood out for you when she picked up the guitar and started to... Okay.
Yeah.
And so, what did you personally learn from her? What do you think?
I think if I look back now as an adult, I don't know, as a kid that I would have thought this, but I think...
How old were you?
I would have been about 10 when I had her, and I think that I probably learned from her, get the work done and then you can have fun. You know, there's a time for the head down stuff.
Bit of a mix.
And then
not all hairy,
celebrate.
We can play all the time, but you got to do this. But
there's a period of get your head down and then woohoo, because I love music. So for me that was a payoff, you know, that head down.
Did you love music before that?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Always loved music, but to have it in my classroom all the time was really cool.
Magical.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you have any sort of teaching philosophy that may, I think, possibly do, just by this whole conversation that we just had, teaching philosophy that may differ from the norm, or something that's a little bit out there that others might not agree with, or...
I think that...
just by what I'm hearing, it sounds all pretty common sense to me.
I don't think it's out of the norm. Yeah. I think lots of people maybe go into the teaching world because they have similar philosophy, you know, to support young people to grow and develop, to be amazing young people and to be amazing adults within our community. So I think, you know, most teachers would probably come from a core value of that, you know, they believe in the power of young people and what they can do, and they want to be a part of growing amazing people. You know, you want to look back and go, there's Johnny who's now you know, working in his community and supporting his family, and you know, he's involved in this and he's loving life, and you know, and you can think, well, you know, I planted a seed or something like that. So I think we probably all come from that core value. And I guess my philosophy is around that remember that we're seed planters, you know, and that we can plant positive or negative stuff in a young person. And that's really powerful. Teachers have a really powerful role in a young person's life.
And I suppose that's where we have to be very careful in the same respect, don't we? That because what we say, how we act, or what we do has a huge impact, doesn't it?
And not only what we say or do on one young person, but the visual of what the others see as well. Do you know what I'm saying? Like if you behave towards one young person a certain way, that can impact how everyone else will see that young person as well in that classroom. Completely. Yeah, and then those young people, because they're influenced by the teacher being the leader, will adapt and they will adopt those same beliefs.
So they can be.
And that can be powerful, or it can be positive or negative. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm just thinking, you could have a young person with a disability, but if the teacher sees that as not a problem at all and is totally inclusive in that young person in the school, in the classroom, then the rest of the students will. Or it can be the opposite. You know, little Johnny is a pain in the neck, and the teacher just, because their personalities, or there isn't a common core there.
Sometimes there can be a clash between.
That's right. The rest of the students will pick up on that and behave that way towards Johnny as well. So I think teachers have, my philosophy, I guess, is that teachers have so much power over a young person's life. And the seeds that they plant are not just about education. They're about self-belief and about life lessons, and have an impact on all the other people that are around each other young person.
Brilliant. And I just had a thought. Boys and girls are different, right?
Yeah, very.
Yeah. And what can we do about that maybe we're not doing about that? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. Do I know what we can do? I
think maybe being conscious of it is the
that's probably a huge thing.
It's the first step, isn't it?
But again, it comes back to me that how can we have one person in a classroom, if we're talking about the classroom and boys and girls in the classroom, how can we have one person responsible for all those lives? Whereas if you had that team thing going on, there would be someone who would be someone that maybe boys would connect with more and would have that ability. Because I mean, I'm not saying that they always have to team teach. You'd bring them into small teams or groups or whatever and work with individual teachers and get stuff happening, but coming back together as a team. So I kind of think, in my ideal world, that would maybe work on that situation as well. But I think that we have to definitely acknowledge that boys and girls are different. Hormonal stages, learning development, all that sort of stuff happens at different time. If we look at the development of the brain, it quite clearly tells us that. But we keep doing the same thing. We keep putting them age-wise in the same classroom,
and we know
30-odd kids with one teacher.
Exactly. And when kids are 11, for example, the difference between the boys and the girls is huge. And 12, there's a massive difference, particularly in maturity levels, right?
Yeah.
And so I suppose that should be catered for.
And hormonally as well. Yeah. That's got to be looked at as well, because...
I mean, that's where it comes from. The maturity comes from the hormones that are going on. And
just, I mean, if you think about just how girls and boys deal with situations, like if there's an argument, normally a boy will punch a boy and then it's done and dusted. Do you know what I mean? Where a girl, girls can be quite manipulative
for sure.
and use words. And so that can go on for months and months and months. Do you know what I mean? Whereas the boy doesn't get that. They're like, what are you talking about? We fought yesterday, it's over, now we're friends. Whereas the girl, we're just different. But, I guess I don't know what the answer is. I would, like I said, in my ideal world, if I was creating my team school kind of thing, maybe that would address that. Maybe it wouldn't.
Good. Listen, this has been really great, and I honestly feel that I could sit here for another 3 or 4 hours just talking to you. But I've had that. This is the first interview, so thank you very much for being involved in the first interview.
It's been awesome.
I think we've touched on some beautiful topics there, and I just think it's very valuable. I'm learning. I'm going to go back and look at this, and I think there's some key points that I'm definitely learning from. But I think it could be very valuable for other teachers around as well. So thank you very much, Sharleen. It's been really great, and maybe we'll come back and do it again next year.
That'd be awesome. Maybe we'll create our school.
Yeah.
Team teachers.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thanks.